right, let's dive into some music today, huh? We're taking a look at some pretty iconic singers.
Yeah. Sinead O'Connor, Joan Baez,
Simone.
and Patti Smith.
Incredible voices, all of them. But,
More than that,
yeah,
they really push the boundaries. Like, what does it even mean to be a woman in music?
exactly. And that's what's so cool about this book we're looking at for this deep dive, Unruly Women.
Perfect title.
Totally. It's all about women who just, refuse to play by the rules.
Yeah.
And these four.
Oh, they definitely fit the bill.
Big time. And it's wild. Their careers, they all kind of follow a similar path.
Don't they? Like early success, right?
Yeah.
Then the industry tries to make them, more commercial.
Oh, yeah, fit into that mold.
Right. And
Yeah.
then eventually they all end up leaving those big record labels.
To do their own thing.
Exactly. Making music on their own terms.
It's pretty amazing. And the book digs into this idea that their outspokenness and their activism.
Yeah. Maybe that played a role in all of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like Sinead O'Connor, 1992,
Yeah.
Saturday Night Live.
Oh, wow.
Appears up a picture of the Pope.
Yeah.
Talk about a statement.
Huge controversy.
Understatement of the century.
Mm-hmm.
The media, they went nuts. And, her career, it definitely took a hit.
For sure.
It was like overnight, she went from global pop star to public enemy #1.
And difficult.
Oh, absolutely. Difficult to work with. And the book even suggests that, it led to her losing her record deal.
It's interesting, right? Because you see similar things with Joan Baez.
Oh, yeah.
She was so involved in the anti-war movement, Vietnam War era.
Right.
But then as the war kind of faded from the headlines, so did her, commercial success.
It's like she was too closely tied to that one cause.
Right, exactly. Like her activism overshadowed her music.
And, she had already moved to A&M Records, I think it was the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And she had some hits, some real commercial success. But by the end of the 70s, she was making music independently.
Yeah. And then there's Nina Simone. I mean, talk about a powerful voice.
Unbelievable.
And her commitment to civil rights, especially Black nationalism. I mean, she became a target. The government was even watching her.
Seriously.
Yeah. And her activism, it came from such a real place, like her experience as a Black woman in America.
Of course.
And it's heartbreaking because, well, the book talks about how all of that pressure, it basically forced her to leave the U.S.
Wow. Self-imposed exile.
Exactly. Now, Patti Smith is interesting in all of this.
Yeah, how so?
Well, the book suggests that because her art was always kind of outside the mainstream,
Yeah.
music, writing, photography,
You're right, she did it all.
it was like the industry didn't really know what to do with her.
Like she was already unruly from the start.
Exactly. It wasn't like she changed or became difficult. She just always was.
That's a great point.
So let's dive into each of these women's stories a bit more, starting with Sinead O'Connor. She just exploded onto the scene, Late 80s, The Lion and the Cobra, this raw, powerful debut album. You could just hear that voice.
And then, I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got.
Oh, man.
That made her a star.
Yeah.
Nothing compares to you. That song, that video,
Everywhere.
it was everywhere.
Such a raw, emotional performance,
That's fully.
And it just solidified her image as this, incredibly vulnerable, but also really strong artist.
Yeah. But like we said, even with all that success, she never held back.
Oh, no.
She spoke her mind, even if it meant risking everything.
And that SNL performance, that was a perfect example.
Yeah, it really was a turning point.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And after that, she started moving away from those big labels.
Universal Mother.
1994.
Her last album with a major label for a long time.
But the thing is, she never stopped making music. She explored all these different genres, traditional Irish folk music with Sean Nos Nua.
Throw Your Arms Around Me. Roots reggae.
Right.
And then there's theology.
Oh, wow.
This double album, all about spirituality. I mean, talk about ambitious.
It shows how much she valued, artistic exploration, not just chasing hits.
Totally. Okay, let's talk Joan Baez, the ultimate folk icon, right?
Absolutely.
Her early albums on Vanguard Records,
Her.
like her self-titled debut.
Joan Baez, Volin 2.
So successful.
Her voice was perfect for folk music,
Yeah.
clear, strong, and so expressive. And those early albums, they really captured that whole folk revival feeling.
They did. But what's fascinating about Baez is that for her, music and activism, they were always intertwined.
Absolutely. It wasn't just about performing at rallies. It was like part of her.
David's album.
Oh,
dedicated to her husband who was in prison for draft resistance during Vietnam,
Powerful statement.
and then Woodstock,
Oh, yeah.
right there at the heart of it all, using her music for peace and justice.
Okay, let's talk Nina Simone.
That voice.
Extraordinary. Soulful, bluesy, and so much emotion.
Like she could convey joy and pain all at the same time.
Truly one of a kind. She blended jazz, blues, classical music.
It was all her own.
Her debut album, Little Girl Blue?
Which, by the way, was recorded for a tiny American label. Huge critical and commercial success. And that put her on the path to stardom.
She later signed with Philips, then RCA. Her discography, so diverse. Folksy Nina, I put a spell on you.
But, like we've talked about, her activism, especially her support for Black nationalism, it really impacted her career.
Made her a target. Too unruly for the industry.
It's sad because her voice, her message, it was so powerful.
And that's where we see the connection between all of these women.
Right.
They were all incredibly talented, successful,
Yeah.
but they wouldn't be silenced. They wouldn't play by the industry's rules, and it came at a cost.
A huge cost. All right, last but not least, Patti Smith.
The embodiment of unruly.
Seriously. This force of nature, blurring the lines between music, poetry, performance art,
Her debut album, Horses.
changed everything. Raw, rebellious rock and poetry all mixed together.
Shook up the music scene in the
It
mid-'70s,
really did.
and it established her as this major voice in punk rock.
But even with that success, she never lost that edge.
Never. That rawness that made her unique.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got Sinéad O'Connor, Joan Baez, Nina Simone, and Patti Smith. 4 incredible singers, all of them unruly in their own way.
14 playlists, 627 songs, studio, live, and collaborations. Each playlist has a QR code that links to Apple Music. Join the revolution in No Limits reading. Discover the stories, hear the voices, and celebrate the women who refused to conform and changed music forever.